Hello everyone, welcome back. About 1 month ago, I uploaded a video titled, the same as this one, 10 beauty products that I absolutely cannot live without. But that version was all affordable products. And I asked in that video if you would like to see a part 2 featuring my high-end picks. And a lot of you said yes. That is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. These are my absolute must-haves. And if for some reason you were to try to come and take these from me, we're gonna be fighting. Of course I'm joking, but if you did happen to take these from me, I am immediately running out and repurchasing them. I am currently wearing everything on my face right now. The look that you see here is the one that I do when I know I need to look extra good, or I just want to look extra good. If I'm not in the mood to experiment with new colors or new techniques, I just want to apply the makeup that never fails me, never lets me down. Now, side note, that does not mean that I don't still love the other foundations or concealers or brow pencils that I've raved about in the past or even recently. These are just my no-brainers. They're the products that I have used for such a long time. Ones that when I'm packing to go on vacation, I am going to be bringing all of these with me. I may add another foundation or another powder or another eyeshadow palette or 10 more lipsticks, but these are definitely going in the makeup bag. All right, starting off with foundation. I have spoken about my undying love for MAC Studio Fix Fluid over and over and over the years. I've been on YouTube for almost 10 years now, and I think most of you who have been with me for a while know that this is one of my top 5 favorite foundations of all time. Now, do I recommend this to everyone? No. This is a foundation for someone who wants that perfectly flawless skin that is going to be more medium to full coverage. And I also find that it is best suited for combination to oily skin. I would not highly recommend this one to someone with dry, mature skin. I'm not saying you can't try it. I'm not saying that with proper skin prep it won't work for you, but it's been a while since I've done freelance makeup work, so it's been a long time since I've worked on a variety of mature faces. Of course, I do makeup on my mom and some friends of mine who are also 50 plus, but I don't work on clients regularly anymore. So what I'm getting at is that I can't with a lot of certainty say that someone with dry and or mature skin is going to like this foundation. But if you have mature oily skin like I do, or of course young oily skin who is looking for a flawless finish that's going to be very, very long wearing, I highly recommend MAC Studio Fix Fluid. Next is the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer. I have tried a lot of new concealers in the past year, and there are many, many good ones out there. But to me, this one is winner, winner, chicken dinner. That was so corny, but anyway, I think that this would be my top pick if I were ranking all of the new foundations that have launched, all of the new concealers that have launched in the past year. This is my number one. It's hydrating, it's high coverage, it's long wearing. You could even use this as your foundation. I see Natasha herself do it a lot on her social media and her tutorials. She will use one shade to conceal, a lighter shade under her eyes, and then a deeper shade for the rest of her face as foundation. Well, what she does is she sort of spot conceals and then blends it out with a brush or a sponge, and it gives her a really natural looking finish. So yes, this concealer is a little bit pricey, but this is my high-end version of this video, so you are probably expecting it to not be an inexpensive concealer. Although there are drugstore concealers that I think are excellent. So if you missed the drugstore / affordable version of this video, I will have it linked for you down below in the description box, or maybe I will even add in one of those cards that appear up on the screen. But don't click out of this one, we've got a lot more to cover. The next 2 products are things that you have seen in pretty much every tutorial I ever do. The first one being this palette from Makeup Forever. It is the HD Skin palette. It's amazing. This is the best travel palette. This is my #1 pick for travel, honestly. I can use this for my corrector, for my concealer. I mostly use it to either contour or to carve out under my brows after I've applied brow pencil. I use the blushes not that often, but in a pinch, they're there if you need them. And I just overall think this is a fantastic must-have face palette. So worth the price. And then to apply that contour, either that contour from that palette or pretty much any contour I ever use, you will see me reach for this brush from IT Cosmetics. It is the Heavenly Brush #7. I have 2 of them. This one is clearly the older one. The next time I can get a discount on this brush, I'm going to purchase another one because I just love it so much. And I have tried the Amazon alternatives for this product and they're okay. Well, to be honest, I've only tried one of these so-called dupes. And it's not bad, but there's just something about this one that's better and makes it worth the price for me. I love the density of the brush head, the width, the amount of bristles, the feel of the bristles, the fact that you get this little mini on the other side to do nose contour with. I just think it is absolute perfection. You can also use this for foundation. You can use it for cream blush. It is multi-purpose. I just happen to use it mostly for my contour. Up next is powder. And this is a category where I do have a lot of loves. I often talk about some fantastic loose powders, high-end loose and pressed powders. In the past, I've spoken very highly and still really love the Givenchy Prism Libre powder, the by Terry loose powder. There are just a lot of very good loose powders on the market these days. And pressed powders, I've spoken about my love for the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless. But when it comes down to products that I truly cannot find dupes for, there are certain elements to these products that I just don't think any of the others have, which always brings me back to this Huda Beauty. I used to call it Huda, but I've since learned that it's Huda. I don't know why I didn't know that earlier, but clearly I love the powders. I have purchased all of these. They were not sent as PR, and honestly, these are mostly repurchases. I have 3 shades: Pound Cake, which is the one I used today, Cherry Blossom Cake, which has a pinkish tinge to it, and then Sugar Cookie for when I'm really pale and or when I want just a little bit of extra brightness underneath my eyes. So what I will do, how I will use this powder is I will, because I'm oily, I do not recommend doing this if you are not oily, or at least not through the T-zone. I take a puff or a sponge and I really press the powder into my skin to set that foundation, to sort of carve out that contour a little bit. This step is what gives me that truly airbrushed look. This powder makes it look like my pores are completely gone and that I have placed some sort of blurring filter on my skin. Now, if you noticed, I did not take that amount of powder with the sponge and place it right up underneath my eyes to set my concealer. The way I set my concealer with this powder is with a fluffy brush and dust it under my eyes lightly to set my concealer and to brighten. Before I move on, I should probably tell you what about this powder makes it so different for me personally. And that would be the fact that not only is it finely milled like the other powders that I mentioned a few minutes ago, it also helps to control oil, and the others don't. So while I do think all skin types can use this powder, I think it's exceptionally good for oily skin. And when I've been asked in the comments, Risa, between the Guerlain and the Huda, which one would you recommend for me with mature skin that is more dry, I always say go for the Guerlain. But if you say you have more combination to oily skin, I will tell you to purchase the Huda. as far as the way they look on the skin, the things they do for the skin, the feel, the texture, the shade selection, they're equal in my eyes. But if you're like me and you need that extra oil control element, then the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Powder is my choice. Up next is the Patrick Ta Brow Pencil. This is another category where I have a lot of favorites, but this is the one I find myself repurchasing over and over for two reasons. One, the shade Blonde is absolute perfection for my hair. I find other blonde brow pencils are often too light. I mean, I do want a little bit of color in my brows, hence why I'm using a brow pencil, or they can be too golden toned, or they can be too yellow, or sometimes green. And then oftentimes if it's a choice between blonde and taupe, I really don't know which way to go because neither one is quite right. This blonde is beautiful. Look at how quickly I was able to apply my brow. And this is not sped up. Usually I speed up my brow application when editing tutorials, but I did not have to this time. That footage right there demonstrated how quickly I can put on my brows with this pencil. And then I do set them with a brow gel or a brow wax. I have a lot of favorites because again, I do have so many that are equally as good. This one stands out for the ease of use, the size and shape of the pencil itself, and the color. All right, moving on to eyeshadow. I thought this would be difficult for me to pick like my absolute must-have favorite, but over the past 4 months where I've done a lot of traveling, I've come to realize that it's not a difficult choice. The Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette is my favorite. It is a must-have. Now mine is the original version that came out, that was limited edition, that came out, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And then about, I could be totally off on my dates here, but I think it was maybe 6 or 9 months ago that Mario re-released the palette with different packaging. And I have heard from other content creators and from reading reviews that the formula is slightly different with the new palette. I hope not, because everything about this palette is pure perfection. From the shade range to the blendability. And for me, what stands out the most in this palette and separates it from others I have are, in fact, the shimmers, because they are more like shimmer toppers that can be built up. Yet the sparkle is so fine. It's not any chunky glitter that feels cheap. This palette feels expensive. They feel luxurious, and the way that they catch the light when you are in low light, candlelight, your eyes are just going to be so beautiful and mesmerizing. Even if you have hooded eyes like mine, where you can't really see the shimmer when looking straight at me, when I look down, when I'm, moving around and making facial gestures, you can see it, and it is just so, so stunning. Okay, I think this next one might come as a surprise to some people, and I'm cheating a little bit because I'm not choosing one specific shade, but I cannot be without my YSL Rouge Volupte Shine lipsticks. These were not sent to me in any sort of PR package. I purchased every single one of these over the years. I don't know how long it took me to get this not so huge collection, but they are around $35, $38 each, so I'm not buying, multiples at a time. It does take me a while to build a collection, but I love every single one of these. And there is just something about taking one of these YSL lipsticks out of your purse when you're in the ladies' room, at a nice restaurant, or heck, even just at your vanity. You feel so luxe putting on a YSL lipstick. At least I do. And today I used the shade 163. This is a newer shade. It's the perfect rosy pink. And what I love especially about these is that they're shiny. So you don't have to apply a gloss on top. I'm typically a 3-step lip look girl. I do a liner and then a lipstick and then a gloss. But when I use these, I don't do that. I just use a liner and sometimes no liner if it's a lighter shade. And I'm just doing like a running out the door type of makeup look. But today I used a liner. I used Wherever Walnut from Makeup Forever. And then I topped it with this gorgeous, gorgeous color. All right, let's talk about this Rare Beauty highlighter. I think this might be surprising for some of you as well, because I try a lot of highlighters pretty much every month. I feel like I'm using a new highlighter in testing hot new makeup. And of course, just like in many of these other categories, there are a lot of other highlighters that I think are beautiful that I recommend, but this is the one I find myself putting in my vacation makeup bag. Typically, I will only take one highlighter with me on vacation, and lately, this has been it. It just gives the most perfect glow to my skin without accentuating my texture. It comes in a beautiful variety of shades. The one I am using is called Enlighten. It's also my favorite product to put in my tear ducts to highlight the inner corner. It's just so bright and beautiful and long lasting on the skin. And I have had this for so long and I have barely made a dent in it. And one of the great things about powder products is that unless they start to smell or you're storing them in a really, really warm space, they don't go bad very quickly. I know there are some people who are sticklers for expiration dates and won't use a product after 6 months or a year, but I think I've had this for at least 1 year, maybe 2. And I honestly don't see myself tossing it and buying a new one anytime soon. And lastly, we have my beloved Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finishing Spray, Setting Spray. I feel like I talk about this product in at least 1 or 2 videos per month. I can't get enough. And every time I talk about this setting spray, I do get comments from people saying, oh, I didn't like it, I didn't like the smell, or it felt like hairspray on my face. I'm shocked every single time I read those comments because I personally like the smell. I personally have only, oh, this is something that I've heard. There have been a couple people that have commented that their pumps have gotten stuck. And that happened to me once. Out of all of the bottles that I have purchased or have been sent over the years, oh, I just ate it. When am I gonna learn to not open my mouth right as I spray this? What was I saying? Yeah. Once I have had a pump that was stuck. And that's horrible. It's annoying, especially if that's the one you took on vacation and the only one you took and you go to pump it and nothing comes out. So I get that. That's infuriating. But I would say that that is a very, very, very rare instance and can probably happen with any product that has a pump sprayer. Okay, I learned my lesson. I didn't open my mouth right after spraying again. So aside from that, and that being if you've had a problem with the sprayer, I just don't know how this can feel sticky. To me, it feels refreshing, and I honestly don't smell that much. Of course, there are plenty of people out there that are very, very sensitive to smells, including myself. There are certain fragrances that people wear that give me an instant migraine. So I get it. What something smells like is extremely, extremely important. So if this is off-putting to you, then obviously it would not be your pick. I would say to try the One Size Until Dawn setting spray. And then, if I remember correctly, I haven't used it in a long time, but the Hourglass setting spray is supposed to be really, really good too. All right, there they are, the 10 high-end beauty products that I simply cannot live without. As always, every product will be listed and linked down below for your convenience in the description box. You can also shop directly through YouTube Shopping. Somewhere on the screen it should have said View Products, and you can click on that and shop through YouTube or shop through the links down below in the description box. If you did enjoy this video, I always appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will consider doing so. all you have to do is hit that subscribe button. I do try to post new content at least twice per week. You can also find more content from me over on Instagram and TikTok under the same username or the same handle as it's called. It's Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.